In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 advanced DIY prepping hacks that can empower your family to survive in any survival situation. The times of uncertainty have come. They're all around us. Can you survive in the midst of these without breaking the bank? We're going to talk about it. All right, so the times of uncertainty have come. They're all around us now, right? There are challenges that face us on every front, but the problem is, now that we're here, we often don't have the money to deal with these. We have more time than money, and that's where this idea of DIY comes into place. In this video, we're going to look at some top advanced prepper hacks to make sure that your family is ready. You see some of them on your screen. We're actually going to look at some others that I haven't revealed to you yet later in this video. Stay tuned for that. But you need to decide, is it worth investing time into these hacks and setting these up for your family? So we're going to look at the high level of each one and help you decide just that. Number one is the DIY rainwater harvesting system. So through a simple set of objects, you see them here on your screen, from wood and barrels and some PVC pipe. We'll look at how to put it together here in a second. You can set your family up to be not dependent on the municipal water system that everybody else is. You may not have the ability to put in a groundwater system, and you may have water bottles or water bricks or those kinds of things on hand. You should, but if those things run out, how do you have a sustainable ongoing option? This is that. Now, how do you set this up? Pretty simply, you're going to get those barrels, prep them, and then attach some PVC pipe to them. This is the kind of thing you can get at Home Depot, along with the wood to build a barrel stand. Why do you need that? Well, you're going to want to make sure that this is up off the ground with the attached plumbing, the overflow and gutter, which you can then receive the water in and store it. And then finally attach the water hose, so at the bottom of the whole system, you can drain the water out through gravity. So a very helpful and simple way to set up a system that allows you to be off-grid and not depend on the municipality systems, and ongoing receive that water that you can filter and work with. Okay, let's look at another one. This is called the Faraday cage, for those of you who haven't seen this before, and it protects your electronics. One of the top challenges that could face us in our era right now is an EMP or a solar flare. If that happens, all of your electronics can get fried in an instant. You don't want that to happen to you. That's where the Faraday cage comes in. And it's pretty simple to build. You see a more complex one on your screen, but let's look at a really simple version. This is very simply just a metal trash can, and then you line it with cardboard. You can see how they're on your screen. Put in some partitions and even just a partition there that sits at the top, a circular one. And then you can put all your electronics in there. Some examples of that on your screen: cell phone, laptop computer, tablet, LED flashlight, or even that solar-powered radio that you're going to rely on when the grid goes down. If it gets fried, it's worthless to you. But if you store it in the Faraday cage, when that time comes, it'll be ready and waiting for you. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is a solar-powered water heater. In that situation, again, where there's grid down or you don't have access to gas, you need to still have water, and especially hot water, for cooking, for cleaning, for hygiene, right? And if you don't have access to that, you're going to be up a creek. So this gives you a way to make sure that you have that with some simple copper tubing, creating a frame, and then allowing Mother Nature, the sun, to actually heat up that water for you. So let's look at how to build this very simply, and then you can have it on hand. Get some of that copper wire, about 50 feet, divide it into 4 sections. You're going to attach it to the board and space out the copper tubing, and then build a frame that all of this can sit in, so that as you are exposing this to the sun, it has something to sit in and receive the sun in. And then you're going to place the tube in the frame and begin to attach it to the board as you see, and drill a hole for the tubing to come out of this. And then add a dowel rod for the glass to sit on that will sit over the top. Paint the whole thing black. This is step number 7. This is going to make sure that the sun is actually you're getting max absorption and heat transfer. And then attach the coupling and the swivel so the water can come out into a useful source from there, and then lay it in, and you're ready to go. Now, what we have seen is you can actually get a pretty good flow rate with this system, and about every couple to 3 minutes get a full gallon of water. Worth consideration. And then, of course, once you build this, you have it on hand and you can store it, right? Okay, let's look at the next option, which is a DIY root cellar. Root cellars have long been used, right? Think about Little House on the Prairie. Back in the day, people had root cellars, right? And it takes advantage of the natural cooling and temperature control of the earth. And so that allows your food to stay fresh longer and naturally regulates the temperature, and also, many people don't think about it, but the humidity as well. So you can construct this. We're not going to go step by step on this one. It's a little more complicated, but if you have time but not money, then an earth bag building might be for you. And its construction is simply created by using sandbags filled with moist dirt that are temp level as building blocks along the rows. And so pretty simple, right? Pretty simple and straightforward. And then as you build this, it's ready for you in a grid down situation or in a survival situation where you need to make sure you can have temperature controlled food and water without having to rely on the grid, right? Okay, let's look at the next option, which is a portable solar, it's called desalinator. And so this allows you to convert salt water into drinkable water, and it's crucial especially for those in a coastal situation where you might have access to water, but it's salt water, or an island survival situation. And you can make this simply by getting a clear plastic water sheet or plastic bottles like you see on your screen, and then allowing the Mother Nature natural reality of gravity to do the work. Okay, so let's look at how to create this one. Very simply, you're going to gather materials. You see those plastic bottles on your screen, and then drill holes in the caps because this water is going to transfer from one bottle to the next. Glue the lids together. Add the salt water. Drop at an angle, right? And then that's going to allow you to begin to test and see that water transfer through just the effects of Mother Nature as it does its work and transfers that water. Maybe you remember back to first or second grade when you create a terrarium and it creates this effect as the condensation forms. Same idea here. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, easy to make, and can actually potentially save your life, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is a DIY aquaponics system. And this is this idea of where you're setting up a system where fish waste fertilizes plants, creating a self-sustaining food source. So you have that food in the form of the plants, you have that food in the form of the protein of the fish on hand as well, and then all of this system begins to feed into itself. So very useful, very simple way to cut down on grocery bills, and you can even promote sustainable living through it. And so you can use tilapia as an example, which are easy to raise, and then add red worms that help break down the waste and help clean the water. I'm going to give you two examples of how to set this up. A very simple system can look like this, where you put barrels on top of each other, allow gravity to do its work. Some people are going to really invest in this. Is a much more complicated system, but the principle is very straightforward and simple, and just allows Mother Nature to connect these two ideas together and allow your family to have the sustainable resource. Okay, let's look at the next one, which is improvised body armor. And so this is the idea of creating body armor using scrap metal plates, duct tape, and padding. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth on this one, just simply for safety reasons. I'm going to allow you to do your research on this on your own, but it does have the potential for enhancing your personal protection in high-risk scenarios, especially if you can't afford to purchase these items. It might be worth looking into creating your own. And this is a high-cost commercial item to get body armor, and so it would allow you to find a way to get that same thing at a DIY cost. So if you line the inside with foam for comfort and then test effectively with non-lethal projectiles, you can actually put this in place so that you're ready for any situation with lethal force, right? Okay, let's talk about the next one, which is number 8, wind turbine from scrap metals. And so you can actually build a wind turbine which uses a car alternator, PVC pipes, blades, and then old bicycle parts or metal blades like you see here on your screen. Okay, so this provides electricity off-grid, which is essential for powering devices, right? But it harnesses the power of the wind to do that. So you're going to make those blades. You can do that with PVC pipe. You can do that with metal. You see both options there. And then turbine support struts, making sure that it's sturdy enough. You got to have some welding skills to weld the rotors on, assemble the blades together, and then build the power generation system. Again, alternator from a car could be an option on that. And then test, and you can see there even on your screen, begin to generate some power and power your electronics in that situation. All right, so let's look at a couple more options. That is a rocket mass heater. People will often be aware of a rocket stove, and even created a rocket DIY stove at a small scale. But what about creating a rocket mass heater with a cob, metal barrels, and exhaust pipes so that you could actually heat a whole house with very, very minimal scrap wood? And actually, many people who have created this are astonished at the amount of heat that you can generate with a very small amount of wood. So you see some of the steps there on your screen. This one's going to take a little more advanced know-how when it comes to doing some welding and other components, but it could be worth it. The payoff for the amount of heat transfer that you get from a rocket stove design is actually amazing. And so with just a few small bits of scrap wood, you can turn your small house into a heated, comfortable space in any different scenario with just small amounts of wood. Could be worth it for you to consider DIY. All right, so let's take a look at one more for us today, and that is the composting toilet. Now, of all of the ones on the list, I saved this one for last because it's actually a very easy win and not as gross as you might think. We'll cover that here in just a second, but it could be worth you considering so that you're not dependent on the water resource toilet that you usually would have in your home. And it's pretty easy to set up. So let's take a look at this one. So the composting toilet is just what it sounds like. It's creating a composting toilet using a bucket, sawdust, and a ventilation system. And it manages waste off-grid, preventing contamination, and reducing water usage. So construct a compost bin outside of your house where you can put the waste. As you set that up, you're going to create soak and cover materials to make sure that it is being disposed of properly, right? And then as you create the toilet itself, insert a 20-liter bucket, begin use on the toilet itself. And as you do that, then you can empty as needed. I found that's about every few days, and then refill with sawdust. Now, of course, objections and concerns would be, is this going to smell bad? Is it going to be gross? It's actually not that bad. You don't smell much of anything as you're using it. And then emptying it is pretty simple and straightforward. Got a hose, and you can simply just dump it out and refill it within about 5-10 minutes. Not that big of a deal. So we offer a 0 to prepared 15 minutes readiness checker because as you dive into this world of prepping, no matter whether you're a beginner or if you've been doing it a long time, action builds momentum. And if you have a topic you'd like to hear about on this channel, leave that in the description below, and we will see you guys on the next video.